Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. I am Tanya E. Hood, a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur simply means I've worn a lot of different hats in my life that have helped me develop a full range of strategies and actionable steps that I've used to help my clients make a strategic impact, both personally and professionally, to have better when life has been given them. Red Alert Diaries is based on the life lessons from my premier book, Red Alert Is He the One? The Pocket Guide to Finding the Love of Your Life. And if you read my book, you already know that I got married at 21. And after 11 years of marriage, I found myself going through a divorce, having to raise my two sons alone. To reset my life and survive my divorce, I took the time I needed to get to know me better, which opened me up to new love again. So now I'm in a new marriage to the love of my life and my best friend, which just proves there is life after divorce. On this podcast, we have conversations that's real talk, marriage, divorce, money, and legacy. And I want you to join me on the journey. So for today, I'm going to give you a little more insight about some of the pieces that I wrote in the book. Because when you decide to write a book, you share more of who you are and expose yourself to the world. There are some times when you're walking through different moments that you'll have to make a definition of what it looks like to you. My grandmother would often say, baby, if you can define it, you can deal with it. I didn't always understand what she meant by that, but it became a lot more clear when I was walking through those moments as a child when I was afraid, the bumps in the night that kind of make you wonder. If you define what that is, then you can deal with it better. So when the lights went out when I was a child and the shadows started coming in, and I started thinking that, okay, I got to go to bed. Okay, that's just my coat. That's just the lighting. I had to start defining what the bumps in the night looks like to me. I had to start defining what the shadows and the shimmers started to look like for me. I knew when I turned the lights out that the things that were sitting in that corner were just my clothes that was on the chair. My grandmother let me have a chair at the foot of my bed to lay my clothes out to make it easy for me the next day. But when the lights went out, ordinary things looked way different. If you don't take the time to define what things that bring you anxiety, those things that draw up your fears, if you don't define them, then what society says or a overgrown imagination will define it for you. You don't want to have those things defined. And when you decide to tell your story, to write what's happened in your existence, especially if you're writing parts of your life, you don't always want those exposed. You see, when I was writing my premiere book, that was a part of my reset story for my divorce. There were things that were in the midst of my divorce that I was ashamed of, that I didn't want to tell anybody. There were parts of me that I wanted to let just die away in the dark. You see, if nobody talked about it anymore, it was my thought and my hope that it would go away. But often, that's not what happens. You see, what often happens with emotions that you choose not to deal with and you decide to bury them alive, they just resurrect themselves at the most inopportune time. Now, a lot of you have heard my breakdown that took place in the middle of the grocery store. A lot of you have heard the breakdown that I had on the bathroom floor of my two-bedroom apartment. It was because I never defined what was happening in the moment. If you come to a conclusion in advance, because lots of things that's happening in your life, you're going to have to create a strategy in advance. That's where defining the moment helps you. That's part of what I had to do when I got to chapter 7 of the book. So I'm going to read a piece of it to you. So you guys see this is in chapter 7. And the reason I'm going to share this part with you is because as you go through wanting to support others through their journey, it means often that you've got to go back and look at where the landmines are. And as you go back through, because while I was writing elements of this book, it dredged up some things, pieces that I knew I healed from. But like I've told you before, healing comes in levels. Writing the book exposed a new level of healing for me because I had to put pen to paper. Things that were once put in the past, things that were once I was hoping would never come to light. But if I didn't share what I went through, somebody else walking through that landmine would step on it and feel the shrapnel that I had already felt. And I didn't want that to happen anymore. So this is what I wrote in chapter 7. I put here, while I was hidden from the world, God knew me. While I was still trying to figure me out, God knew me. While I was wondering who would ever love me with all the baggage I was bringing and the mess I encountered, God knew me and loved me anyway. It was God that found me on the bathroom floor when I decided to end my life. It was God that found me when my innocence was removed. It was God that said, no matter what you have endured, I loved you from the beginning and I will love you to the end. It was God. It was all God, and I will never be able to fully express how much I'm grateful and blessed that God has always been present. You see, to get that written out on paper, I had to go back and remember that yes, those were frightening times in my life, but God never left me. There will be moments that you may encounter that you'd have to walk the journey alone, especially if you're like me and going through those elements of divorce from the partner that you thought you shared the rest of your life with. Those moments kept dredging themselves up, and it became like a umbrella of doubt over the well-being of who I thought I would be. It became a shadow in the dark, like it was when I was little, when the thing, if I just turned the light on, wasn't as frightening. Just a pile of clothes sitting on the edge of the chair at the foot of my bed. Those emotions are just piles, just sitting on the edge, that when you shed light on them, you can see them different. I began to see things different when I chose to put pen to paper. And if you don't write a book to share your story to the world like I did, put pen to paper anyway. Get it out so that you can define it. Because it was while I was reading and while I was writing that I got a different exposure on another level, that I had the chance to realize that bump in the night, that spooky moment that laid me out on a bathroom floor wasn't so bad. Because what put me there was thinking that I was alone. What put me there was thinking I was by myself. What put me there was thinking that nobody would love me with all the mess that I brought to the table. So I defined my baggage and I laid it before God. Those pieces are still sitting in journals that are tucked away. But because I chose to define them, I got healed. I got whole. I reached a new level that brought me an opportunity to be able to share, support, and help to others. And so for today, if you don't remember anything else I've shared, here's the one thing I want you to know. You can get through those moments of anxiety that are terrifying you. You may need to define it so that you can deal with it. Because once you get the definition of it written down and it doesn't look so out there, it's more tangible. You can handle it because you're built for this. You are not by yourself on this journey. If just you and God walking alone. Now, I know that there are those that don't believe in the God I serve, but if you choose to believe in a being greater than yourself, that will give you support in your storm. That will shore up the rocky places and give you a firmer foundation so that you can do what you need to next to reach your next level. And if you want someone to join you on the journey, feel free to reach out to me. Go to my website, tanyaehood.com. There you can click under the Work With Me tab to see the various ways that we can work with one another. And if you're watching this right now, I am in the middle of the 30-day Living an Authentic Life Challenge. I encourage you to join me. Click on the link that's at the beginning of the page because this is only for the month of November. I only do this once a year. And I do that because for me, November was a time where I started defining things. November was a time when I started walking through some elements because often November is a reminder of the family that you no longer have, of the family you wish you still had, or the family that you wanted and have never ever experienced. You find yourself in those moments where you're not quite sure how to do this thing called life because you're putting on a mask to show up at Thanksgiving or Christmas. Here's where the 30-day authentic life challenge will give you an opportunity to live in your authenticity. So I encourage you to join me. Click on the Eventbrite tab. There will send you to an auto schedule. Let you join today because I will be there this evening at 6:30. I encourage you to join me. I look forward to seeing you on the Zoom so that I can extend the conversation with you, just like I'm extending it with others. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.